These are the version differences in Pokemon Scarlet, Violet, and the Hidden Treasure of Era Zero DLC. So, let's get started. The first and most obvious difference is the legendaries that you encounter in your journey. In Scarlet version, it's going to be Koraidon, and in Violet version, it's going to be Miraidon. And at the end of the game, when you get to capture either of these two, it's going to be the one that is on the box art of the game you bought. So, Scarlet Koraidon, Violet Miraidon. Obviously, the first thing is going to be the exclusive Pokemon between the games. Starting off with Pokemon Scarlet, the exclusives you find in Scarlet version are as follows. First up is going to be none else than Armorogue. See, Charcadet can only evolve into Armorogue in specifically Scarlet version, but what's really interesting is that the specific item to do this is also exclusive to specifically Scarlet version, and it's the Auspicious Armor, which is exclusive to Pokemon Scarlet, and then if you need to get your hands on it, you're gonna have to go buy it, and once you've got it, you can use it to evolve a Charcadet into Armorogue, which, like I said, it is an exclusive Pokemon to this specific game. On the other hand, the counterpart, Ceruledge, well, that's the exclusive for Pokemon Violet. The thing about Ceruledge is, for that one, you need yourself the Malicious Armor, which is exclusive to Pokemon Violet. It's an item you can't get otherwise, and if you give it to Charcadet, it's going to evolve into this game's version exclusive. But again, those are only two Pokemon. What about the rest? That's just Armorogue and Ceruledge. What about the other exclusives? Well, starting off with Scarlet, we got ourselves Tauros Blaze Breed. So this is a specific brand new version of Tauros, and it's the Blaze Breed version that's exclusive to Scarlet. You also have, obviously, Koraidon, which makes sense. You also have Larvitar, Pupitar, and of course Tyranitar, all being exclusive to none else than Scarlet version. Then we have Stonejourner, which is also exclusive, and it's found in the Asado Desert. It's also a Scarlet version exclusive. Drifloon, Drifblim are also exclusive, as well as Oranguru, as well as Stunky and Skuntank. Following that up is Skrelp and Dragalge, and not far from them, we also have Dano, Zweilous, and Hydreigon. All of these are exclusive to specifically Pokemon Scarlet version. Moving over to Pokemon Violet, we have none else than, of course, Ceruledge, but also another Tauros. This is the Aqua breed, so this is the water-type version almost of Tauros against the Blaze breed from Scarlet. So that's what you got there. You also have Miraidon, obviously, as the legendary. You have Bagon, Shelgon, and Salamence as a counterpart to the Tyranitar line. You also have Ice-Q instead of Stonejourner. You have Misdreavus and Mismagius. You have Passimian. You've got Gulpin and Swalot as well. You got Clauncher and Clawitzer. And you also have Dreepy, Dracloak, and Dragapult as well, which finishes up that list. Let's not forget about the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLCs. First of all, we have Kitakami, the first set of DLC. And this one, well, in Scarlet version, our exclusives are as follows. It is Gligar, its evolution Gliscor, and finishing it off with Cramorant. So those are the three exclusives specifically found in Kitakami's Scarlet version, which is very specific. Violet for Kitakami DLC, we have the following Pokemon as exclusives. We've got Apom, we also have Ambipom, the evolution, and finishing it off with Morpeko as an exclusive as well, which is a solid collection. As for the Indigo Disc DLC, well, we got a few other Pokemon that are exclusive here. Starting, of course, again off with Scarlet version, we have Alolan Vulpix, Alolan Ninetales, which are pretty solid. We got Cranidos and Rampardos as well. Both of those two are creme de la creme. And finishing it off, we have two Pokemon that are actually Paradox versions that are exclusive to Scarlet, and that's going to be Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt. These two are both exclusive to Scarlet specifically. As for the Indigo Disc DLC for Violet, we have these following exclusives: Alolan Sandshrew, Alolan Sandslash, Shieldon, and Bastiodon. Also, the Paradox forms that we have is specifically the Iron Boulder and the Iron Crown, both of which are specifically exclusive to Pokemon Violet. Now, next up, we have some lore differences. First of all of our professors are different in the game. Basically, if you're playing Pokemon Scarlet, you're going to be going up and meeting Professor Sada, who has a more prehistoric outfit on that looks more like it's set in the past. Whereas in Pokemon Violet version, we have Turo, who looks more futuristic. And it doesn't really end there. The names of both of these guys actually stand for past and future. And another exclusive difference is that if you've actually completed the full story in Scarlet and Violet, and you go and finish up and you go to the pond that's found in Kitakami, you will actually have an exclusive event with either one of the professors. If you got Pokemon Scarlet, it will be Sada that shows up from the future and time travels actually from the past. And then if you're playing the other game, which is Violet, you'll be running into Turo, Arturo. So both of these are different and exclusive to each other. Speaking of which, another difference is the school we go to in each game. See, in Pokemon Scarlet, the name of the school is Naranja Academy. That stands for Orange Academy. And on the other side of the aisle, we've got Violet version, where we have the Uva Academy, which stands for grapes and pretty much the color purple. So yes, there's a difference between the schools, which also was the first time they ever did something like this in the Pokemon game. Next, we have the differences in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the books that you get. See, these books contain drawings of monsters from Area Zero, as well as details about the expedition that was done when a bunch of people went down there in the past. However, the interesting part is that in Scarlet, we get the Scarlet book. It's specifically called the Scarlet book, and some of the pages inside of it will actually differ from the pages in the Pokemon Violet version, which has its similarly named Violet book. Now, actually looking at the pages themselves and looking at the stuff that's in there, most of the pages do look similar. Like, they genuinely look pretty much the same. However, the pages that do differ are usually the pages that, well, contain something more to do with specifically paradoxes. Any of the paradoxes that we see on the pages are actually different, and they look like they are supposed to belong to the other game. So for example, if you're playing Pokemon Scarlet, you will see the Great Tusk, right? It will look a little bit different than, you know, the other hand if you're playing Pokemon Violet, which will show a totally different drawing. And yeah, basically the books differ slightly. There are different drawings of different things. For the most part, everything in it is the same. Majority of the pages are the same, but there are a few pages that differ, and even some pages of imagined Pokemon, specifically Pokemon that, you know, ended up being paradox forms of Virizion, as well as Suicune. Both of these had imagined forms that were exclusive to Scarlet and one side exclusive to Violet. So again, these pages will be on the screen to give you kind of a little bit of context, but it doesn't end there. Another exclusive difference, and this is something a lot of people missed, is actually the statue that you can find inside of the Academy. So if you go inside of Uva or Naranja Academy and you go upstairs in the library, there will be two statues here. Now, this is supposed to, I think, represent the man who went down into Area Zero himself, but interestingly, this is supposed to be Heath, right? Now, he went down into Area Zero, but the image that we see of him here, or this kind of statue, this bust of his head, looks different depending on the game, which is really odd. It's a very specific little minute detail, and it just comes through and is just kind of a little bit shocking, I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of our academies earlier, another difference is that depending on the game you play, your outfit will be different for your school. And this even extends to these special DLC outfits that we actually get that were supposed to represent the different time zones, or not really time zones, but rather the different times of the year, right? Now, these actually literally differ, and you will not be able to change the colors of them. They will stay consistently the same color depending on the game, right? So Scarlet version will have a more orange design to your clothes, whereas Violet version will have that more purple-looking design. This is exclusive, and it doesn't change between the games. There's no way to actually change that aspect. Exclusive Paradox Pokemon. Now, this again is obvious, but Area Zero is filled with different monsters known as Paradox Pokemon, and in Scarlet version, they are more prehistoric and feral looking, like they're set in the past, and in Violet version, on the other hand, we have a lot more like futuristic looking Paradox Pokemon that look like they are from the future, as basically intended, right? Like, they do look like they were meant to be set in the future. It's kind of straightforward, but interestingly though, the Pokemon that are exclusive are as follows. If we go over to Scarlet version first, we've got the Great Tusk, Screamtail, Brute Bonnet, Fluttermane, Slitherwing, Sandy Shocks, Roaring Moon. Now, on the Violet side of things, we have the following Pokemon. We've got Iron Threads, which is a literal counterpart to Great Tusk. We've got Iron Bundle, we've got Iron Hands, Iron Juggalies, Iron Moth, Iron Thorns, and Iron Valiant. But again, that's just a few of the exclusives. There are still a lot more, to be honest with you. Going back to the DLC real quick, there is a difference that can be found here. Now, we're looking at the legendary Pokemon that you can specifically capture. Now, interestingly, you can actually get all of these guys in your game, whether it's Scarlet and Violet. However, that is only possible if you've actually got somebody else to play together with in the Indigo Disc using the Union Circle, since the game will only allow you to get one half of the legendaries on your own, And for you to get the rest, you actually need to do BBQs, right? Or barbecue quests, as I like to call them, which are quests in the Indigo Disc that require other players to be completed. And once you've completed a certain amount of them, the game will allow you to unlock the ability to capture the other legendaries. And if you don't do this or have online functionality, then effectively you are blocked from one half of the legendaries. Now, there is actually an exclusive list for which legendaries are in which game, so let's go through those real quick. So, if we're looking at the Indigo Disc exclusives, in Scarlet version, you've got Raikou, Entei, Suicune, Ho-Oh, Latios, Groudon, which is a pretty solid list so far, but you also have Reshiram, Kyurem, specifically White Kyurem. Also, you've got Solgaleo, Necrozma, and Duskmane Necrozma as well. And then also Glastrier, and of course, we've already spoken about Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt. But those are the exclusives to Scarlet. On the other side of the aisle, we've got Violet version, which has the exclusives of Lugia, Latias, Kyogre, which are great. You also have Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion, which I guess are counterparts to Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. But it doesn't end there. You also have Zekrom, and then Kyurem, Black Kyurem. You got Lunala, and then Necrozma's Dawn Wings Necrozma form. You got Spectrier, and then, of course, Iron Boulder and Iron Crown. These are all legendaries that are exclusive to either side of the games there. Like I said, you are kind of able to get both, but it does require you to sort of do the Blueberry quests with the other people's games, and you have to play with other people. Otherwise, they are exclusive. There's no way to get them. So you're going to be locked to only the ones I've mentioned here, depending on the game. But there was also some other exclusive things. Like, for example, there were exclusive Terra raid battles that you could find in Scarlet and Violet. So, first of all, if you're playing Pokemon, well, specifically Scarlet version, two of the exclusives were Dialga, which, of course, is a great freaking Pokemon, but it was specifically exclusive to Scarlet version, and also the Walking Wake. Now, yes, the Walking Wake is exclusive to Scarlet. There's no other way to get it unless you have Scarlet version. And if you capture one, if you actually caught one during a raid, you can't capture a second one. So it's almost impossible to get it in the other game unless you have somebody who has both games that can trade it to you. But other than that, on the Violet side of things, you've got Palkia as an exclusive, as well as Iron Leaves, which is the equivalent or the kind of counterpart to the Walking Wake. So yes, Iron Leaves is exclusive to Violet version, and there's no way for you to get it in Pokemon Scarlet unless somebody else catches it and is willing to trade it to you, which, I mean, fair enough if you want to do that, but yes, it is an exclusive and rare Pokemon because there's only one of them you can catch per game file. And if you have more of them, then you've done some sketchy stuff.
There's also a difference in the faculty members or the different teachers. You can actually see that their outfits differ a little bit and slightly. Not all of them, but some of them definitely do differ. Like Clavel, for example, definitely has a different in its design depending on which game you're playing.